We have chased this shadow across every ocean, through the archives of history, and into the deepest recesses of our own imagination. We started by looking for a sunken city, but we discovered something much more dangerous, an eternal mirror. The final revelation isn't about where Atlantis was, but why we never stopped looking for it. If you are watching this right now, I want to ask you something. How much of history do you think is actually true? Because what you are about to hear was never meant to reach you. These are the classified files, the buried evidence, and the forbidden stories that powerful forces spent decades trying to erase. If you are someone who refuses to accept the official story, you are in the right place. Subscribe to the Dark History Files and join thousands of truth seekers uncovering what history tried to hide. Welcome back. This is the Dark History Files, and today we expose a truth that was never meant to be told. Centuries after Atlantis dissolved into myth, the pursuit of its reality began to scar the margins of maps, texts, and journals. Scholars parsed ancient accounts, explorers scoured distant shores, and seekers weighed legends against the physical world. The proof of this quest persists not in stone, but in the scattered documentation of eras past. Libraries amassed competing theories, charts charted phantom coordinates, and generations filled margins with notes, desperate to anchor a fleeting story to a tangible location. For the obsessed, the journey began with a single spark, a cryptic line in an ancient scroll, a map hinting at uncharted regions, whispers of a civilization veiled by the horizon. The search forged its own somber atmosphere, the silence of archives, the weight of dusty records, and the isolation of prolonged study. The thrill was rarely explosive. It was the quiet, persistent agony of discovery remaining perpetually just beyond the reach of comprehension. The search drifted across the globe as the centuries turned. Some fixated on the reaches of the Atlantic, others turned their gaze toward the Mediterranean. As cartography expanded and new voyages returned with fresh observations, theories proliferated. Each age approached the enigma through the lens of its own worldview. While the question remained static, the paths chosen in its pursuit evolved, mirroring the shifting currents of human knowledge and ambition. The true marvel of this long search is not the absence of a final resolution, but its sheer, unyielding endurance. Individuals severed by time, language, and culture found themselves haunted by the same vanished shore. The hunt itself became woven into the myth. Atlantis evolved beyond a mere lost island in ancient prose. It transformed into a mirror of human curiosity, exposing our intrinsic need to chase mysteries that beckon investigation yet steadfastly resist the closure of truth. The quest for Atlantis ignited in the era immediately following Plato. Readers debated whether his account was mere allegory or a reflection of tangible history. In an age where vast swaths of the globe remained terra incognita, the notion of a lost civilization lurking beyond the horizon was a theory of genuine merit. The line between myth and reality, for these early thinkers, remained provocatively blurred. As Plato's manuscripts circulated, specific passages seized the imaginations of historians and geographers alike. The vision of a formidable maritime power fueled endless conjecture. Readers meticulously cross-referenced the ancient text against known geographies, searching for echoes of the lost island. This endeavor was an exercise in interpretation, fueled more by logic and deduction than empirical evidence. Throughout the medieval epoch, geographical reach was severely constrained. With vast regions shrouded in mystery, the discourse on Atlantis remained tethered to the page. Scholars debated the nuance of surviving manuscripts, integrating the island into their evolving cosmography. Atlantis existed primarily as a focal point of intellectual inquiry, a lingering question kept alive through centuries of scholarly transmission. A paradigm shift occurred with the advent of the Age of Discovery, as mariners charted the world's coastlines and ocean routes. The search for Atlantis transitioned from the library to the sea. Newer, more precise maps challenged archaic assumptions. Exploration gave seekers the agency to compare ancient descriptions with the physical reality of the Earth's hidden corners. This era catalyzed a surge of bold theories. Some placed Atlantis amidst the swells of the Atlantic. Others tethered it to the Mediterranean basin. Every newly charted coastline breathed life into the legend, offering potential candidates for the sunken realm. As the map of the world expanded, so too did the theater of speculation, even as conclusive proof remained frustratingly out of reach. The true marvel of this history is the unyielding endurance of the search. Methodology refined and cartography advanced, yet the core curiosity remained unchanged. Generations of readers returned to the same ancient ink, questioning if they described a forgotten reality submerged by time. The hunt for Atlantis became a voyage across geography and history, binding humanity through the shared, haunting desire to unearth the traces of a vanished world. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the search for Atlantis matured under the weight of scientific inquiry and accessible documentation. Scholars cross-referenced ancient texts with archaeological findings, historical archives, and precise cartography. As travel became less arduous, researchers visited sites once known only through prose. Though the mystery endured, the instruments of investigation had grown significantly more potent. Many investigators approached the legend through the lens of geography. They scrutinized the dimensions and environmental markers preserved in the ancient accounts, measuring coastlines against the descriptions provided by Plato. From submerged landforms to anomalous geological features, every trace was scrutinized. The hypothesis was simple. If Atlantis existed, some vestige of its presence must remain etched into the natural world. Simultaneously, archaeology revolutionized the perception of antiquity. Excavations unearthed forgotten cities and buried civilizations long scrubbed from collective memory. These revelations proved that entire societies could endure in oblivion for millennia. For many, this confirmed that the story of Atlantis possessed a historical bedrock, waiting to be excavated from the silence of history. Diverse theories multiplied as interdisciplinary evidence grew. Some researchers linked the legend to volcanic cataclysms. Others pointed to cultural parallels between disparate civilizations. From geology to oral tradition, every approach reflected the enigma's inherent complexity. No single explanation garnered universal consensus, as each breakthrough merely unearthed fresh mysteries. This era was defined by the blurred intersection of rigorous science and unrestrained imagination. While disciplined scholars weighed textual evidence, popular authors crafted dramatic narratives that seized the public consciousness. Atlantis became a magnet for thinkers of every stripe, each armed with competing methods and assumptions. Consequently, the discourse surrounding the island grew as varied as it was contentious. Throughout these shifting currents, the core mystery remained indomitable. New discoveries reshaped the understanding of the ancient world, yet Atlantis retreated from every attempt at identification. Proposed locations drifted in and out of academic favor, debated in journals and private correspondence alike. The search had evolved into a historical tradition unto itself, inherited by successive generations. By this point, Atlantis was no longer a mere artifact of literature. It was a perpetual investigation. a quest fueled by evolving knowledge and the haunting possibility that a lost chapter of our past lay dormant beneath the surface of the world. As the modern era dawned, the search for Atlantis evolved. Researchers wielded technologies beyond their predecessors' dreams, from sonar-mapped ocean floors to granular geological surveys. Archaeological techniques achieved newfound precision, yet the island remained defiant. The mystery proved adaptable, thriving in an age that demanded rigorous evidence even as the legend continued to enchant. Atlantis endures because it dwells in the shadow between history and myth. While other lost civilizations are tethered to ruins and inscriptions, Atlantis survives primarily in text, not matter. This void invites perpetual investigation. Each generation inherits the same enigma, approaching it with updated tools and fresh expectations, seeking to bridge the divide between story and substance. Contemporary study often pivots from seeking a singular site to deciphering the historical catalysts behind the legend. Researchers analyze seismic records, volcanic eruptions, and ancient inundations. Others explore how narratives mutate through oral tradition. By investigating whether multiple real events converged into one tale, scholars shift focus from the location to the processes that forge and sustain such myths. Meanwhile, public fascination remains unyielding. Through media and discourse, the mystery reaches new audiences, and the search itself has become a facet of cultural history. The allure lies not just in the potential for discovery, but in the journey, an interdisciplinary odyssey spanning geography, archaeology, and literature that ignites curiosity across every field of knowledge. Viewed across the centuries, the hunt for Atlantis reveals the contours of the human spirit. The mystery persists because it addresses more than geography. It probes the nature of loss, memory, and the fragility of our grasp on the past. Atlantis occupies the periphery of certainty, that precise point where empirical evidence thins and the imagination takes command. Today, the island remains unfound, yet the pursuit is far from empty. Scholars parse ancient scrolls, geologists study the sea floor, and readers ponder the origins of the tale. The truth remains obscured, yet the process has become the legend's heartbeat. Across 2 millennia, the chain of curiosity remains unbroken. The history of Atlantis is written not by the answers we have found, but by our refusal to stop searching. The physical search for ruins has spanned generations, yet the true power of the myth lies in what it forces us to confront about our own mortality. To understand why this story survives, we must move beyond the maps and into the heart of the enigma itself. Across vast expanses, diverse terrains have been tethered to the Atlantis enigma. Some emerge as volcanic peaks from the abyss. Others reveal coastal relics, submerged foundations, or anomalous geological scars. Certain sites offer sweeping plains by the tide, while others bear marks of seismic shifts and receding shores. Despite their stark differences, each has, at some point, been hailed as the elusive cradle of the legendary isle. Standing upon these sites evokes a singular sensation. Waves batter jagged rocks as the horizon dissolves into the haze. In places, wind moans through ruins overlooking the sea. Elsewhere, divers descend into the depths to witness stone structures rising from the gloom. The atmosphere shifts with every sight, yet many evoke a profound confluence of history and nature, demanding scrutiny long before they yield answers. The focus of the quest drifts through time. A volcanic isle may rise to prominence, fueled by evidence of cataclysmic fire. Later, a submerged archaeological wreck might command the discourse. New discoveries cast fresh landscapes into the spotlight, as older theories wane. The mystery migrates across our maps, each location adding another thread to the labyrinthine history of Atlantean speculation. These places fascinate not merely for their proximity to myth, but for the questions they inherently pose. A desolate ruin or a drowned coastline commands reflection, independent of Atlantis. The legend merely applies a layer of intrigue to landscapes that are already compelling. Together, they illustrate how geography captures the human spirit, serving as theaters where history, geology, and memory converge in silence. Santorini, historically known as Thera, commands sustained fascination. This volcanic isle bears the scars of one of antiquity's most cataclysmic eruptions. Its steep cliffs overlook a flooded caldera, formed when the island shattered millennia ago. The stark, dark rock and jagged ridges create an environment clearly defined by raw, primordial power. The link to Atlantis rests not on precise mapping, but on thematic echoes. The eruption devastated the region, destabilizing nearby civilizations. Excavations reveal a once prosperous society of traders and artisans, their streets and artifacts entombed by volcanic ash. These findings offer a poignant glimpse into a sophisticated community lost to time, deepening the intrigue surrounding the legend. Yet, Santorini remains but one candidate. Many researchers gravitate toward the Atlantic Islands, drawn by the ancient claim that Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules. These diverse Atlantic landscapes, ranging from volcanic peaks to isolated shores, have long invited comparison to the narrative of a lost maritime empire beyond the Mediterranean threshold. Other theories delve into the abyss. Advances in underwater archaeology confirm that rising seas and seismic shifts frequently consign ancient architecture to the deep. Sunken walls and harbor remains, discovered worldwide, continue to spark speculation, even where direct ties to Atlantis remain unverified. Coastal regions ravaged by disaster also feature prominently. Areas scarred by tsunamis and tectonic upheaval mirror the volatile backdrop of the Atlantis story. Archaeological sites in these zones reveal fragmented histories of societies enduring sudden, transformative ruin, adding layers of complexity to the search for the legend's historical roots. These varied locations underscore the enigma's breadth. Volcanic isles, drowned ruins, and shifting coasts each present a different facet of the mystery. No single site offers an answer. Rather, each landscape contributes to the discourse. By studying these environments, their geology, their ruins, and their intimacy with the sea, we move beyond the myth to witness the stark, evocative landscapes that have kept the riddle of Atlantis alive for generations. Another category of Atlantis candidates centers on landscapes where the frontier of land and sea has fractured. Coastlines are fluid. Erosion, seismic upheaval, and rising tides perpetually reshape the earth. Harbors once bustling with commerce lie choked by sediment, while seaside settlements are reclaimed by the encroaching deep. These liminal zones command attention, mirroring the defining tragedy of the Atlantis narrative, a civilization surrendered to the relentless pressure of elemental forces. Across the Mediterranean, archaeologists have unmasked communities bound to the sea. Ports, temples, and residential quarters testify to societies sustained by maritime reach. Today, portions of these ruins rest beneath the waves. Divers encountering stone foundations and sunken docks discover that the ocean acts as both a vault and a shroud, preserving what time would otherwise dismantle. Regions scarred by tectonic instability also invite inquiry. Tsunamis and earthquakes can dissolve a landscape in a heartbeat. Shorelines retreat, structures crumble, and once vibrant districts vanish into unrecognizable debris. Communities in these volatile zones were forced to adapt to a shifting reality. When archaeological records reveal evidence of such sudden devastation, the shadow of Atlantis inevitably follows, even where proof remains elusive. Beyond the Mediterranean, interest shifts to isolated islands whose very solitude fuels the legend. Some possess jagged volcanic profiles. Others hold relics hinting at sophisticated trade networks. Standing upon these shores, the allure is palpable. Surrounded by the abyss, shaped by unique geology, and severed from the mainland, these sites feel perfectly cast for stories of worlds lost beyond the horizon. Unusual underwater formations further stoke public fascination. Submerged stone structures often ignite debate regarding their origins. Whether these terraces, walls, and pathways are the product of natural erosion or human craft, the visual weight is undeniable. They compel reflection on how landscapes evolve and how the secrets of forgotten epochs remain hidden within the silence of the sea. Examining these sites reveals that each offers a distinct fragment of the puzzle. One underscores the fury of the volcano, another highlights the lethality of the flood, a third displays the precariousness of coastal life. None mirrors the Atlantis legend in full, yet each reflects a facet of the broader enigma. Together, they form a mosaic of possibility, inviting a meditative gaze upon the fragile intersection of human history, nature, and the persistent pull of memory. As this investigation concludes, the locations linked to Atlantis reveal a vast tapestry of landscapes rather than a single point of origin. Volcanic isles, sunken settlements, and ancient coastal ruins each contribute a unique fragment to the enigma. Some provide evidence of abrupt environmental upheaval. Others illuminate the enduring bond between humanity and the sea. Together, these sites form a comprehensive vision of the environments that likely birthed the archetype of the lost world. It is compelling that these disparate locations share profound thematic parallels. Water remains the primary architect. Geological forces leave indelible marks upon the terrain, and human settlements persist in the precarious balance between coastal prosperity and existential risk. These recurring motifs transcend time and geography, reminding us that the Atlantis narrative echoes experiences far beyond any singular mythic event. Archaeological remains add critical depth. Excavated ports, temples, and homes depict societies that flourished before their eventual decline. Whether through gradual societal shifts or sudden cataclysms, the remnants offer rare glimpses into lives once lived. Even lacking a direct link to Atlantis, they mirror the civilizations that ancient chroniclers might have envisioned when crafting the legend. The underwater realm exerts its own silent pull. Beneath the modern surface lie the echoes of drowned landscapes and forgotten coastlines. Advancements in marine exploration continue to expose what was once unreachable, revealing the dramatic transformation of the world's edges across millennia. The sea, a keeper of secrets, yields only fragments of the past, while jealously guarding the rest within the abyss. Perhaps the profound lesson here is that the mystery of Atlantis is inseparable from the real-world landscapes that inspired it. The legend demands we look at environments forged by fire, seismic tremor, and rising tides. By doing so, the hunt for Atlantis becomes a dual quest, an investigation into an ancient story and an exploration of the natural world itself. Regardless of whether Atlantis was a singular place, a composite myth, or pure invention, these associated sites hold immense intrinsic value. They map the complex interplay of history and geography. They demonstrate the capacity of natural forces to redraw the world. Most importantly, they invite a slower, more deliberate way of observing the earth, noticing the scars left upon our ruins and coastlines. In those quiet traces, the mystery endures, sustained not merely by words, but by the landscapes that continue to beckon us toward a deeper understanding. The physical landscapes, the volcanic peaks and submerged coasts, are only the stage. The real evolution happened in our minds. As we leave the physical world behind, we see how the myth transformed into a living, breathing entity in our art, our culture, and our deepest reflections. Long after Atlantis vanished from the literal map, it resurfaced within the boundless landscape of human imagination. Painters cast the lost island beneath celestial, glowing skies. Writers envisioned grand metropolises emerging from the depths. Illustrators populated pages with soaring temples and submerged ruins. Atlantis adopted 1,000 visual forms. No single image endured. Every generation sculpted the legend anew, mirroring the aesthetic currents and cultural preoccupations of its own time. Engaging with these imagined worlds diverges sharply from the ancient prose. A painting compels the eye to drift across distant horizons. A novel invites the mind to construct architecture never explicitly defined by text. Cinema layers the experience with sound, motion, and shadow. Through these creative prisms, Atlantis acquires shifting textures and moods. The audience encounters not a single lost city, but a multitude. Each interpretation provides a unique emotional resonance rooted in the same ancient origin. The iconography of Atlantis has remained in constant flux. One epic hailed it as the pinnacle of wisdom and advancement. Another cast it as a somber cautionary tale of hubris and decay. Subsequent eras tethered it to science fiction, exploration, and speculative futures. The legend migrated across artistic traditions, molding itself to the changing spirit of the age. As culture transformed, the visual essence and moral significance of Atlantis shifted, adapting its form while preserving its core identity. This metamorphosis reveals the profound tether between humanity and its myths. A story survives not merely by being remembered, but by being reimagined. Atlantis serves as a mirror, reflecting the aspirations, anxieties, and curiosities of every age it inhabits. While the island of the ancient writings remained shrouded in distance and uncertainty, its influence proliferated through the alchemy of art. In this process, Atlantis ascended from a forgotten place to a permanent cultural emblem, belonging now to far more than its original narrative. The resilience of Atlantis is found in the paradox of its brevity. A sparse ancient account became the catalyst for limitless creation. As a canvas for the human imagination, the island was perpetually redefined by the values, anxieties, and aspirations of each successive age. It evolved not as a static record, but as an ever-shifting mosaic of interpretation. Literature showcased the myth's immense plasticity. Some authors cast Atlantis as a repository of lost knowledge, others as a cautionary monument to hubris. It served as a stage for tales of desperate discovery or as a foundational setting for speculative worlds. The legend's persistent ambiguity allowed writers to return to the source, extracting new themes from the depths of its silence. Visual artists approached the enigma with equal diversity. Canvases captured the spectacle of soaring architecture, temples and luminous canals rising defiantly above the sea. Some works eulogized the island's zenith, while others rendered the encroaching devastation of the tides. These compositions harmonized the ancient myth with the artistic language of their own time. The dawn of modern media expanded the reach of the myth into new cultural frontiers. Film imbued the legend with kinetic life, while television delved into its enduring mysteries. Magazines and graphic narratives brought Atlantis to the collective consciousness of newer generations. Each medium refined the myth, adding depth to an already dense cultural tapestry. Crucially, the Atlantis of any given era serves as a mirror of its own time. In cycles of progress, it was framed as a pinnacle of advancement. In times of turmoil, it became a harbinger of fragility. The island thrived as a vessel for ideas, remaining profoundly relevant by mirroring the evolving intellectual moods of society. A clear pattern emerges. Atlantis survives through our participation. Artists and audiences alike fuel its transformation, building upon a foundation of ancient myth. It has transcended its origin in text to become a living entity within the creative consciousness, perpetually reshaped by those who continue to seek out its mystery. Throughout the 20th century, Atlantis permeated the bedrock of popular culture. The legend permeated literature, radio, cinema, television, and eventually digital landscapes. By transcending scholarly confines, the myth reached audiences far beyond the reach of the original text. Atlantis ascended to a level of cultural dominance that eclipsed the brevity of its ancient source. Popular culture prioritized visceral spectacle. Atlantis was recast as an abyssal kingdom, a technological utopia, or a civilization wielding forbidden knowledge. While these visions often diverged from historical accounts, they remained anchored to the core archetype of a world awaiting rediscovery. The inherent uncertainty of the myth granted storytellers total creative license to mold it into any narrative form. The legend seamlessly integrated into the burgeoning realms of fantasy and science fiction. Writers conjured luminescent underwater metropolises. Filmmakers envisioned sprawling civilizations rooted in the Atlantean ideal. Whether surviving in secrecy or influencing later empires through lost knowledge, Atlantis transformed from a historical enigma into a versatile narrative vessel capable of powering infinite themes. Simultaneously, Atlantis retained a presence in documentary and academic discourse. Literature dissected the myth's origins. Television explored its archaeological and geological hypotheses. Museums invoked the island to illustrate the power of ancient lore. Few legends navigate the space between entertainment and intellectual inquiry with such fluidity, occupying a unique position in the collective consciousness. The myth's endurance is rooted in its profound emotional resonance. The notion of a lost civilization strikes a primal chord regarding our own ephemeral nature. Atlantis converges the lure of discovery with the weight of loss, offering an enigma that remains eternally ancient yet perpetually renewed. It is a mystery that refuses to age. Today, Atlantis persists across a vast spectrum of media, from immersive gaming to digital discourse. Each iteration reinterprets the legend for a new era. While details vary, the fundamental inquiry remains. What was Atlantis, and why does it haunt the imagination so relentlessly? Its longevity lies in its adaptability. Across millennia of cultural shift, Atlantis has stood as a beacon of inspiration, urging us to peer beyond the horizon of the known and ponder the secrets buried beneath the tides of history. Spanning the breadth of its cultural odyssey, Atlantis persists not as a rigid chronicle, but as a living paradigm. The ancient account offered the bedrock, subsequent generations built upon it. Artists imbued it with vision, authors with depth, and filmmakers with expansive spectacle. Audiences infused it with their own hopes and fears. This perpetual dialogue has transformed Atlantis into an evolving narrative, perpetually recast by the tides of history. The legend's most striking quality is its inherent plasticity. It stands as a monument to human ingenuity in some accounts, while in others, it serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of prosperity. Some narratives prioritize the thrill of discovery. Others dwell on the melancholic weight of loss and time. That the ancient text remains ambiguous is its greatest strength, as it grants every era the license to project its own values into the void. Atlantis exemplifies the evolution of myth within the collective psyche. A narrative birthed in one context inevitably accumulates meanings far beyond its original scope. As centuries elapse, shifting societal anxieties become tethered to the familiar tale. Atlantis evolved into a cultural mirror, reflecting the dreams of optimistic eras and the shadows of more uncertain ones. Its enduring allure stems from the synthesis of potent, universal themes. It is a lost kingdom, a forgotten civilization, a historical enigma, and an emblem of human potential. Few myths consolidate such varied archetypes. The island commands us to contemplate what vanishes, what remains concealed, and how stories survive the annihilation of the worlds that inspired them. What began as a fleeting mention in ancient prose has swelled into a global phenomenon. Atlantis thrives in every medium, from art and literature to the digital frontier. While modern audiences often encounter the myth's cultural echoes before its origin, the connection remains unbroken. All versions draw vitality from the same fundamental tension, a realm eternally remembered, yet forever unreachable, at once familiar and profoundly unknown. Ultimately, the cultural legacy of Atlantis transcends the debate over its geography. Its physical reality is secondary to the profound mark it has etched upon the human mind. For over 2 millennia, it has fueled creativity, reflection, and the relentless hunger to explore beyond the borders of the known. In this, Atlantis attained a unique form of immortality. Though it may have vanished from our maps, it has secured an eternal domain within the collective imagination. Everything leads to this moment, the threshold where history ends and pure wonder begins. Atlantis has become more than a lost city. It is now the sanctuary of our own unanswered questions, and this is where its immortality truly resides. After centuries of discourse, Atlantis occupies an anomalous space in human thought. It is no longer a tangible island defined by cartography, but exists at the intersection of disparate realms. Ancient manuscripts preserve its inception, archaeological inquiry probes its origins, and artistic vision constantly refines its likeness. The legend lingers between these influences, neither firmly tethered to history nor wholly divorced from it. This ambiguity has become the defining hallmark of its identity. Engaging with the myth today transcends the experience of conventional history. There is a profound sensation in standing before a mystery forged through the ages. Literature offers theories, documentaries weigh evidence, cinema constructs immersive visions. Each interpretation adds a new strata to the experience. The result is a composite of overlapping impressions. Atlantis is perceived through fragments and suggestions, rarely through the lens of certainty. The significance of Atlantis has deepened over time. What originated as an ancient narrative evolved into a subject of investigation, a wellspring of artistic inspiration, and ultimately a global cultural emblem. The focus migrated from pinpointing a physical location to exploring existential questions. New discoveries informed ancient debates, while evolving societies birthed fresh perspectives. Through every era, the legend adapted, traversing disciplines without ever shedding its shroud of mystery. This, perhaps, explains why Atlantis commands such enduring focus. The story invites deep reflection without mandating a resolution. It compels us to contemplate how memory persists, how narratives mutate, and how the unknown fuels human curiosity. Whether categorized as myth, history, or something residing in the liminal space between, Atlantis offers an arena where questions remain eternally open. In that openness, the legend achieves a form of immortality, sustained by the fundamental human desire to ponder what lies beyond the horizon of the known. The fascination with Atlantis persists because it echoes a fundamental human truth, the inevitability of loss. Across civilizations, tales of vanished realms emerge, cities buried by desert sands, settlements reclaimed by wilderness, or harbors swallowed by rising tides. These accounts mirror our own experience of transience. Atlantis is merely the archetype of this tradition, a poignant reminder of all that has receded beyond our vision. Lost places are unique catalysts for the imagination. Unlike accessible locales, they demand our participation to bridge the void. Where knowledge fails, wonder takes root. What were the rhythms of daily life? How did their history fracture? The absence of definitive answers creates a vacuum that invites contemplation. Atlantis endures by perfectly balancing presence and absence, providing just enough detail to ignite curiosity while keeping the reality perpetually out of reach. Memory, too, is central to the narrative. Societies oscillate between remembrance and oblivion. While some history is etched in record, much survives only as fragmented echoes. Atlantis occupies a singular position in this struggle, a story sustained for 2 millennia, yet whose factual foundation remains a phantom. The narrative survived even as the reality behind it dissolved, becoming increasingly elusive with every passing century. There is a somber power in this contrast. While physical cities succumb to time, conflict, or cataclysm, stories navigate a different current. They permeate discourse, evolving through culture and finding resonance in every age. Atlantis proves that an idea can possess more durability than stone, enduring not because its mysteries were solved, but because humanity continues to find meaning in its unanswered questions. Atlantis further exists at the intersection of history and imagination. Though often cast as opposites, they are inextricably linked. Historians rely on imagination to reconstruct the fractured past. Storytellers draw on history to ground their narratives. Atlantis resides where these disciplines collide. Some seek the reality beneath the myth, while others embrace the symbolism of the tale. The most enduring perspectives often shift between both, extracting value from either approach. As time advances, Atlantis drifts between categories, defying rigid classification. It is interrogated in historical texts, examined in documentaries, and reborn through art. This resistance to definition is the core of its appeal. A mystery fully explained is a mystery drained of power. Atlantis remains compelling precisely because it protects its uncertainty. It invites us not to conclude, but to contemplate, to ask why the image of a lost world resonates so profoundly within the human spirit. Through successive eras, Atlantis has transcended mere geography to mirror the human condition. For many, it serves as a testament to the fragility of our achievements. History is a chronicle of rise and inevitable decay. Empires, traditions, and monuments are frequently undone by seismic shifts, political instability, or economic ruin. Atlantis encapsulates this volatility, transforming a once thriving civilization into a lingering enigma that prioritizes questions over cold facts. For others, the legend embodies the antithesis of loss, the promise of possibility. It hints at lost chapters of human history awaiting excavation. As archaeology continues to unearth submerged ruins and forgotten cultures, the historical record proves perpetually incomplete. From this vantage, Atlantis reflects our insatiable drive for discovery, fueling a curiosity that persists toward all that remains hidden beneath the veil of the world. A deeper, psychological dimension also sustains the myth. We are intrinsically drawn to the unexplored, driven by an impulse where curiosity sparks investigation and uncertainty fuels the imagination. Atlantis exists in a precise equilibrium, distant enough to maintain its shroud of mystery, yet detailed enough to feel within reach. This balance anchors it within the mind, inviting investigation while steadfastly guarding its secrets. Intriguingly, the essence of Atlantis shifts to satisfy the observer. One discovers a historical riddle, another, a philosophical meditation, a third, an artistic muse. The legend functions as a reflective surface, revealing the preoccupations of the beholder. Because the core narrative remains porous and unresolved, it accommodates a vast spectrum of interpretations without diluting its singular identity. Time has only solidified this resilience. While many ancient myths remain rigid, tethered to specific cultural contexts, Atlantis chose a fluid path. Its ambiguity invited every generation to pose new questions and derive fresh meaning. As knowledge broadened, the mystery did not dissipate. It matured, evolving alongside the shifting currents of science, history, and human thought. Ultimately, Atlantis has outgrown its origin in ancient prose. It carries the weight of centuries of reflection, layers of inquiry, artistry, and philosophical speculation. Though the island may never be found, the quest for meaning remains unceasing. Atlantis endures because it offers a rare sanctuary where history, memory, and imagination intersect. It allows every generation to engage the mystery anew, forever adding to the legend's vast and unfolding journey. As this exploration of the Atlantis legend draws to a close, the focus shifts from a pursuit of coordinates to a more profound inquiry. What is Atlantis today? Centuries of discourse, exploration, and artistry have transcended the search for a singular destination. The myth has entered the realm of cultural memory, where ideas attain significance far beyond their origin. The island survives not through empirical proof, but through the enduring vigilance of those drawn to its enigma. Retrospection reveals the multifaceted roles Atlantis has played. It has served as a historical hypothesis, a philosophical construct, a cautionary warning, an artistic catalyst, and an emblem of lost wisdom. Few narratives migrate so effortlessly across the paradigms of human understanding. The legend remains relevant because it balances vivid detail with persistent ambiguity, adapting to the shifts of every passing age. The attraction to realms just beyond our reach is a deeply human trait. We are perpetually compelled by distant horizons, silent ruins, and unanswered questions. Such mysteries demand contemplation over closure, serving as a reminder that the reaches of knowledge are bounded. Atlantis occupies this edge with remarkable tenacity, inviting inquiry while withholding a final resolution. The narrative underscores the dynamic between absence and imagination. A preserved monument invites study, but a vanished civilization mandates reconstruction within the mind. We visualize the temples, canals, and peaks. Artists manifest these visions. Authors weave new interpretations. The island has become a collaborative legacy, shaped by the collective creativity of countless generations. Perhaps the true power of Atlantis lies in its refusal to be categorized. It exists in the liminal space between history and fiction, neither fully proven nor easily dismissed. In an age driven by a need for certainty, Atlantis offers only questions. This openness ensures the myth remains vibrant, even after 2 millennia of scrutiny. And so, the legend persists. It drifts through our literature, our cinema, our art, and our private reflections. The island may never rise from the abyss, and its nature may remain veiled. Yet, certainty was never the source of its influence. Atlantis endures because it kindles wonder. It compels us to confront memory, loss, and the vast threshold where knowledge dissolves into possibility. Within that gentle uncertainty, the story finds its eternal home, suspended between myth, memory, and the hidden echoes of reality. Within that gentle uncertainty, the story finds its eternal home, suspended between myth, memory, and the hidden echoes of reality.